1994, in the jungles of the Philippines. A U.S. Marine patrol moves cautiously along a narrow trail. The air is thick, humid, silent, until it isn't. A short, sharp burst of fire erupts from the undergrowth. Not the slow crack of bolt-action rifles. Not the heavy thump of a machine gun. Something faster. Closer. Deadlier at short range. When the firing stops, the Marines realize something unusual. This wasn't a rifle squad. This wasn't a light machine gun. It was one of the rarest automatic weapons of the Pacific War. The Japanese Type 100 submachine gun. Unlike the mass-produced Thompsons and MP-40s that flooded European battlefields, the Type 100 was never meant to be common. It was expensive. Complicated. And built by a nation that fundamentally distrusted the very idea of submachine guns. Yet in the hands of Japanese paratroopers, naval landing forces, and elite assault troops, it proved that Japan could build a modern automatic weapon, when it chose to. The story of the Type 100 begins with a problem the Imperial Japanese Army refused to admit it had. Throughout the 1930s, Japan's military doctrine revolved around the rifle and the bayonet. The Arisaka bolt-action rifle was accurate, reliable, and deadly in trained hands. Japanese infantry doctrine emphasized discipline, marksmanship, and decisive close combat, often culminating in a bayonet charge. Submachine guns didn't fit this philosophy. They were seen as wasteful. Ammunition-hungry. Inaccurate. Weapons for undisciplined troops who relied on volume of fire instead of precision. European armies were adopting them rapidly, but Japanese leadership remained skeptical. That skepticism began to crack during combat in China. Urban fighting, night raids, and close-quarters engagements exposed a weakness. Chinese troops armed with captured or imported submachine guns could unleash devastating fire at short range. Japanese soldiers armed with bolt-action rifles were at a disadvantage in alleys, trenches, and buildings. By the late 1930s, Japan reluctantly accepted reality. They needed a submachine gun. Development was assigned to Nambu Arms Manufacturing, under the direction of General Kajiro Nambu, the same man behind Japan's service pistols. The result was the Type 100, officially adopted in 1940, though production would remain painfully slow. At first glance, the Type 100 looked almost elegant. It was chambered in 8 by 22 mm Nambu, the same cartridge used in Japanese pistols. This immediately limited its power compared to .45 ACP or 9 mm Parabellum, but it simplified logistics. The weapon operated on a simple blowback system and fired from an open bolt, standard for submachine guns of the era. Early models featured a finely machined receiver, a wooden stock, and, most unusually, a detachable bayonet. This was not a joke. Japanese doctrine demanded that even automatic weapons be capable of bayonet combat. The idea of a firearm without a blade was almost unthinkable. The Type 100 was one of the only submachine guns in the world designed to accept a standard infantry bayonet. It fired at approximately 450 rounds per minute. Slower than an MP-40. Much slower than a Thompson. But controllable. Accurate. And effective within its intended range of about 50 to 100 meters. Then there was the magazine. A 30-round box magazine, but unlike most designs, it inserted from the left side rather than the bottom. This allowed the shooter to go prone more easily, but it also made the weapon awkward for soldiers trained on rifles. The real problem, however, wasn't the design. It was production. The Type 100 was expensive to manufacture. Japan's wartime industry lacked the raw materials and industrial capacity to mass-produce stamped weapons like Germany's MP-40. Each Type 100 required skilled machining, time Japan increasingly did not have. As a result, fewer than 10,000 Type 100s were ever produced. Some estimates place the number even lower. Most Japanese soldiers would never see one, let alone carry one. Those who did were usually elite troops. Paratroopers of the Teishin Shudan. Naval Special Landing Forces. Officers leading assault units. In their hands, the Type 100 became something rare on Pacific battlefields, a Japanese weapon that excelled in close-quarters automatic fire. Later war versions reflected Japan's desperation. The refined early models were simplified. Wooden stocks became cruder. Finishes became rough. Some late variants removed the bayonet lug entirely, a silent admission that ideology no longer mattered, only survival. In combat, the Type 100 earned a quiet reputation. American troops encountering it often mistook its fire for an MP-40 or Thompson. Its slower rate of fire made it controllable in jungle fighting, where short bursts mattered more than sustained spray. At night, during infiltration attacks, its compact size and automatic fire made it deadly. But rarity limited its impact. Unlike the MP-40 in Europe or the PPSH-41 on the Eastern Front, the Type 100 never shaped the battlefield. It was a specialist's weapon, appearing in isolated engagements, leaving behind confusion and the occasional captured example examined with curiosity by Allied intelligence. Psychologically, it represented something deeper. The Type 100 was proof that Japan understood modern infantry warfare, but too late, and in too small numbers. It was a weapon trapped between tradition and necessity, between doctrine and reality. After the war, most surviving Type 100s were destroyed, captured, or lost to time. Today, original examples are exceptionally rare, commanding high prices in museums and private collections. Many people have never heard of it. Fewer have seen one. Yet its existence tells an important story. The Type 100 was not a bad weapon. It was a late weapon. A reluctant weapon. A weapon born from compromise rather than conviction. In the dense jungles and ruined cities of the Pacific War, it proved deadly in the right hands, but history remembers it not for what it did, but for how little chance it was given to matter. Rare. Overlooked. And lethal up close. That was the Type 100 submachine gun.